Hello and welcome to ASMR video about the nervous system of the human body. I make this video by the request of a viewer called Barusa. The human body is controlled by a network of living wires called the nervous system. These wires are carrying information by a very high speed of 250 miles per hour or 400 kilometers per hour. It takes only 0.01 seconds to signal that travels from our brain to our tongue. Much of our nervous system is under voluntary control, which means we can choose how to react. However, many parts of the nervous system works automatically, controlling our internal organs and reflexes without our conscious awareness. The nervous system has two main parts: the central nervous system, that consists of the brain and the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, that carries signals around the rest of the body, linking the central nervous system, here in a green color, to sense organs, muscles, and other parts of the body. Running all the way down the inside of our backbone is our spinal cord. It is a bundle of nerve tissue containing billions of nerve cells. The spinal cord relays signals between the brain and the body, as well as controlling reflex actions. The spinal cord is protected by a stack of interlocking bones called vertebrae. Longest nerve in our body is sciatic nerve, running from the spine all the way to the foot. Here we can see a neuron. The nervous system is made up of billions of nerve cells or neurons. These odd-looking cells have many finely branched fibers extending from the main cell body. A typical neuron has one large fiber, an axon, that carries outgoing electrical signals, and a large number of smaller fibers called dendrites that carry incoming signals. Neurons connect to other neurons at junctions called synapses. Here we can see three main types of neurons. Unipolar neuron that typically carry incoming sensory signals. The cell body has a single extension. Bipolar neurons are found in the eyes and in muscles. The cell body of a bipolar neuron has two extensions. On this side is one, and here is the other. Multipolar neurons are found in the brain, and these are the most common neurons. The cell body of multipolar neuron has multiple extensions. One interesting fact: the human brain contains about 100,000 miles or 165,000 kilometers of axons. If all the nerve cells in our body were laid end to end, they could wrap around Earth 2.5 times. In our brain, there are 100 trillion of synapses, or connections between neurons. Here we have one enlarged picture of a nerve. Nerve cells have long extensions, axons, and they can stretch to 3 feet in length. Axons running through the body are bundled together to form nerves, much as electric wires are bundled to form cables. Each axon inside a nerve carries a separate electric signal. Most of the signals from our sense organs are processed by our brain before even our body reacts. But a reflex action happens even more quickly by taking a shortcut through our spinal cord. For example, that we can see here, if we touch something painful, a reflex action pulls our hand away before our brain even has time to feel pain. Let us see how it works. First, we touch a candle and it triggers pain receptors in the skin. Then the pain receptor sends a nerve signal to the spinal cord. The signal passes through the spinal cord and then sends a signal to an arm muscle which then contracts. This contraction moves and pulls the hand away from the source of pain. There are 2 billion of nerve endings in our skin, but there are no pain receptors in our brain. Here we can see a picture of human brain, which we will describe. The brain is locked safely inside our skull, and it is, we can say, the headquarters of our nervous system, or our body's control center. The human brain is more complex and powerful than the brain of any other animal. Everything we see, we touch, we think, dream, and remember is generated within our brain. In some respects, the brain works like a computer, but the computer that is continually rewiring itself as it learns and adapts. The brain is made up of cells called neurons. Here we can see a large picture of these neurons. A computer chip has about 1 billion transistors with 3 to 4 connections each. But the human brain has 100 billion neurons with up to 10,000 synapses each. And synapses are more complex than the simple on-off switches in a computer chip. Each synapses may contain up to 1,000 molecular switches, giving the human brain phenomenal processing power. Let us talk about some parts of our brain. Here we have cerebral cortex. This is the largest and cleverest part of our brain. This part, for example, the front part of the cerebral cortex, is important in conscious thinking, planning, and understanding other people's thoughts. Here, this part in violet color on this picture is known as Broca's area, and this part of the brain is vital in generating speech. This yellow colored part is for hearing. Nerve signals from the ears come to the auditory cortex here, which creates the sense of hearing. The top of the cerebral cortex sends signals to muscles to make the body move. Signals from touch and pain receptors in the skin come to this area called the somatosensory cortex. Touch signals pass from the touch area to this part of the brain for further processing, helping us recognize what we can feel. This green part on this picture is called Geschwind's territory, and this part of the brain helps us acquire language skills during childhood. The visual cortex receives signals from the eyes and processes them to identify basic shapes and patterns. And basic shapes and patterns identified by the visual cortex are processed further here, helping us recognize objects we see. Beside the cerebral cortex, we have two other parts of the brain that are very important. One is the limbic system. So, while the outer part of the brain deals with higher mental processes, a set of structures deep inside the brain controls basic drives and emotions, such as pleasure, fear, and anger. And the third part of our brain is cerebellum. The cerebellum is separate from the rest of the brain, and it helps coordinate muscles so they work in perfect sync. Here, at the top of the spinal cord, this part of the inner brain controls vital functions such as breathing and the heartbeat. Let me show you one interesting comparison between our brain and brain of animals. Although the human brain shares many features with the brains of other vertebrates or animals with backbones, which is a sign of our shared evolutionary history, our brain is much more developed. Our closest vertebrate relatives are other mammals, which, like us, have a large cerebrum. We can see here that birds have small cerebrum and frogs have small cerebrum. The thinking part of the brain, the cerebrum, allows mammals to learn complex behaviors. And the mammal brain also includes a limbic system that produces emotions such as rage and fear. We can see that birds and frogs don't have limbic system. And mammals also have cerebellum here, which frogs don't have, but birds have. The well-developed cerebellum in a bird brain helps birds to control balance and speed during flight. Here we have a small picture of the human brain in which you can see cerebrum, cerebellum, and limbic system. And here we can see brain in action. Until recently, scientists could only guess at how the brain creates thoughts. But the invention of brain scanners has provided a window on its workings. Functional brain scans reveal that different brain areas specialize in specific tasks. And mental processes often involve many brain areas working together. Here on this picture, this brain scan, this MRI scan shows the right side of the brain light up as a person moves their left hand. Vision is the most important sense in humans. We gather more information through our eyes than through our other senses combined. On this picture, we can see parts of our eye. The human eye is a hollow ball filled mostly with clear, jelly-like fluid that lets light pass through. The light rays are focused partly by the curved front part of the eye, the cornea. Yeah. And partly by an adjustable lens. Yes, behind the pupil, and it changes shape to autofocus. A camera autofocuses by moving its lens, but the human eye focuses by changing the shape of the lens. The image is captured by a layer of light-sensitive cells lining the inside of the eyeball, the retina. The retina then sends the image to the brain as electrical code via this optic nerve. Important part of our eye is ciliary muscle that surrounds the lens as a ring, and it pulls the lens to change its shape. So when we become older and we become farsighted and we don't see well objects close to our eyes, it is because this muscle, ciliary muscle, lose the capability to reflect. It becomes weak. So there is one theory that if we work out this muscle, we can regain our vision and we can see better. The color part of the eye is called the iris. And the iris is a ring of muscle fibers that controls how much light enters the pupil. In bright light it shrinks and it can be only 2 millimeters wide. But in the dark it widens and it then becomes 9 millimeters wide. The iris reacts not just to light, but also to emotions. If you look at something or someone you like, your pupils widen. The iris color comes from melanin, and it is the same pigment molecule that gives hair and skin their color. Interesting fact is that 8% of males and 0.04 of females are red-green colorblind, which means their eyes cannot easily distinguish red from green. Now, couple of words about the hearing and what it is inside our ear. Sound is caused by invisible waves rushing through air at hundreds of miles an hour. The exact speed of sound in air is 767 miles per hour or 1,230 kilometers per hour. Our ear captures and analyzes these fast but faint vibrations to create the sense of hearing. These pressure waves arrive at our ears at a rate of 20 to 20 thousandths a second. And deep inside each ear is a delicate membrane, the eardrum, that flutters in response to the incoming waves. Here is the eardrum. This incredibly sensitive device can pick up the faintest sound, and it vibrates at the same frequency as the waves, allowing our ears to gauge pitch, as well as giving us hearing. Our ears contain a number of tiny sensory structures that swing back and forth in response to movement and gravity, giving us a sense of posture and balance. So ear is also a balance organ. Here on this picture we can see parts of the ear. The human ear has three different areas: the outer ear, the middle ear, and inner ear. The part we can see is the pinna, a rubbery tissue and skin that funnels sound into the ear canal. Its odd shape helps us sense the direction that sound comes from. The ear canal is a hollow tube that runs deep into the skull, carrying sound to the eardrum. Tiny hinged bones connected to the eardrum transmit the vibrations across the air-filled middle ear to the fluid-filled inner ear. And we can see this better on that picture. These three ear bones called hammer, anvil, and stirrup transmit sound to the inner ear, and they work as levers, magnifying the force of the vibrations. The stirrup bone is the smallest bone in our body, and it is only 3 millimeters long. Here we can see cochlea. In cochlea, sound travels, triggering nerve cells that send signal to the brain. The outer cochlea detects high-pitched sounds, such as bird songs. Our ears detect sounds with wavelengths from about 1.7 centimeters long to 17 meters long. Sounds with short wavelengths have a high frequency and sound high-pitched. Long wavelengths have a low frequency and sound low-pitched. Medium pitch. Typical wavelength of the speak is 70 centimeters. And speech contains a complex mixture of different sounds with frequencies between 100 and 1000 waves per second. And these sounds are detected in a wide stretch of the cochlea. So here or here. The deep rumbling of a large truck passing by includes frequencies of 100 to 200 waves per second. And they are detected near the center of the cochlea. Here. Here, number 3. Human ears can't hear sounds deeper than 20 waves a second. Though we can sometimes feel these vibrations in our bones. Bats can detect sounds 10 times higher than human ears can. But the human voice is too deep for them to hear. One more interesting fact is that we can hear sounds so faint that they make our eardrums move less than the width of an atom. And at the end, we will have some explanation about taste and smell. Here we can see a large picture of human head, or to be precise, nose, mouth, and throat. The human nose can detect around 10,000 odors. But our mouth reacts to only 5 different tastes. And these two senses combine in the brain to give the food we eat an infinite variety of flavors. Here we have a large picture of smell cells. And they are high up inside the nose in a small patch of tissue, no bigger than a postage stamp. And this is where the sensation of smell begins. Other molecules from air dissolve in a sticky fluid that covers the epithelium and activate tiny hairs, shown in pink here. These smell detecting cells then send smell signals to the brain. Here, all factory bulb. It is part of the brain that receives smell signals from the nose. And here is amygdala. This part of the brain screens signals from the nose for signs of danger, such as a burning smell. On this picture, you can see the surface of the tongue. It feels rough because it is covered with hundreds of tiny finger-like bumps called papillae. The largest of these papillae also help create the sense of taste. Embedded in the surface of each one are dozens of microscopic pits called taste buds, and they contain sensory cells that detect chemicals like salt or sugar. The sense of taste comes mainly from our tongue, but there are also taste buds in the roof of the mouth, the throat, and even in the lungs. The sense of smell comes only from the nose. When food is in the mouth, smell molecules travel around the back of our mouth and into our nose, giving the food its complex flavor. We have 5 tastes. Taste buds respond to only these 5 kinds of chemicals, giving us just these 5 main tastes. It is sweet, bitter, salty, sour, and savory. The human tongue has around 10,000 taste buds, and each containing up to 100 taste receptor cells. And the lifespan of taste bud is only 10 days. Smell sometimes unlock powerful memories. Perhaps the smell of the ocean brings back vivid memories of a happy vacation. This happens because the part of the brain that recognizes smells has strong links to an area called amygdala. Which plays a key role in emotion and memory. With this, we will conclude today's session. Thank you and sleep well.